Wow, what's up, ladies and gents? Hope you're doing well. Somebody told me recently that I need to be introducing myself at the beginning of the video, so here we go. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jesse Ray. You may know me through my work mixing for artists such as Doja Cat, Burna Boy, Megan Thee Stallion, Becky G, frickin' RC Drive, to name a few. Stoked to be here today. A couple times a week I do some filming just for fun, just to kind of show you guys what I've been up to, what I'm enjoying, what I'm liking. And right now, I want to show you 3 really unique secret weapon plugins that I just don't hear anybody talk about, and they're super underrated. So I'm going to go through those, and I'm also going to show you 3 amazing little mixing tricks that I do with those to enhance your drums, vocals, and bass. Here we go! Okay, the first plugin is Multipass by Kilohearts. This thing is amazing because you can take any one of their plugins and drop them into any portion of the spectrum of audio. So I could put delay on the low end, you know, and then I could put a filter on the mids, and I could put transient shaper on the upper mid, you know, and maybe an ensemble in the top end. If I were a total bozo, that's what I would do. But what I really love this for is when I get a mix note from a client saying that they want their voice, you know, to feel closer. You know, I could just boost the mids of the vocal. I could just turn up the fader of the vocal. I could bring in a parallel compressor. And sometimes those things work, but sometimes those things don't work. And there's a certain intimacy that comes with placing upward compression just in the girthy mids of a vocal. And I'll show you how do we do that right now. So, you know, here's our vocal without anything. Until the end of time. So it's kind of thin, and it feels like he's kind of far away from the mic. So I like to implement this processing chain to make it feel like he's just right up on the mic, to get it really up close and personal, right? So first I'm going to solo and find, you know, where I want to put that. Until the end of time, until the end. So for me, this mid band right here, that's kind of the oomphy frequency of the voice. That's what we're going to be able to bring forward to make it just feel more girthy, baby, right? And what I'm going to do is throw the dynamics plugin right on the mids. And, you know, normal compressors, let's zoom on in here. Normal compressors, you know, you've got this beautiful little threshold situation here, and then you can adjust your knee, and when the signal passes a certain threshold, then it levels stuff out, right? And that's the layman's terms, because I don't, you know, I'm not an educator on how compressors work. But I can tell you that upward compression is the exact opposite. We can raise the noise floor and actually bring up the information. And it's easier to just show you the effect of this than to explain it. So let's listen to what happens when I bring this up. Until the end of time, until the... Right? And if I really speed up our release, you can really hear it happening. Until the end of time, until the end. But if I bypass it, until the end of time. Here it is with it. Until the end of time. So what we got to look out for, though, is timing the release so that we don't get all that bounce back of the room reverb and just the sound. You know, it's just bleeding through like crazy now. So we got to slow our release down. Okay, cool. Let's unsolo the band. Let's hear this kind of mixed in now. Of time until the end of time. You know, it's a little extreme. So let's back it down just a little bit. Until the end of time. Let's loop just a quicker passage so we can A-B on and off. Of time, of time, of time. It's just a really great way to bring up a consistently leveled out version of the low end and just keep it there, just park it there. And, you know, without the context of the track surrounding this vocal, you might think, well, it got a little whirly, it got a little fuzzy, a little maybe muddy, but I mean, that's the game of mixing, baby. And we just got to assume that when it sits into that track, this is going to be a nice, good, big sounding vocal. And if it isn't, we'll just back it off and just keep mixing. Don't overthink it, man. Just add a freaking EQ after or just back the effect down. All good. Next plugin. All right, the next plugin, you might not recognize this right away. I had to do it because this is just, I've recently rediscovered this, even though it's mine. The frickin' Steamdriver, and this is in flat UI mode. Most of you will recognize this right here. But, you know, I like to go over to flat mode because that way I'm seeing more with my ears and less with my eyes, even though the animation is super fun. So this can be amazing for just mucking up drums, doing some parallel drum compression, but also just adding an insane amount of distorted, really punchy transient, and I'll show you what I mean. So here's a drum, a little Lamb of God drums without anything going on. You know, this is a mixed drum stem, like from way back in the day. I don't even remember where I found this on the internet, but hey, I thought it's cool. You know, it might not need a lot of processing, but I want to show you what can happen. So I have a send going out to this C-Kit bus, and it's solo safe, so we can just solo the parallel bus that has Steamdriver, right? I'm going to back everything down. Really aggressive compression, super fun. And over here on the drive parameter, you can switch between transfer function and sinusoidal distortion modes. And I'll show you what I mean. These, like, one of them really freaks out. So we'll turn up the drive. You know, the other mode is more like a little more squishy, but listen to what happens when I switch over to sinusoidal. Just, it gives this really amazing fast tightness, right? Bypass. You know, now the only thing is that we just need to get rid of those cymbals, right? So we can use something like the 902 is a really cool de-esser that I love to do this with. You know, you can use the 902, or for those of you who are the frickin' isotope people, which yeah, that's me. Hello, right here, hello. And now we can just blend that baby in, just to add a little bit of sizzle to the top end of that kick, right? You know, yeah, sweet. I actually like the 902 better as the DI. Yeah, that's amazing. And all of this stuff is available in my template. You guys can like click down below. I updated the template, you know, for those of you who may have gotten it already a couple weeks ago, I'm updating it as of today. It's gonna have this, it's gonna have C-Kit fast and C-Kit slow. And the first one will have this Steamdriver setting. And then the other one is more of a slow, like just a different sounding, just more of an overall compressed kind of sound. And it can be really cool to blend in, you know, a couple different parallel drum compression buses along with your drums. All right, next plugin. All right, here's the next plugin. This is the Greg Wells VoiceCentric plugin from Waves. And I don't see anybody ever using this thing, but it's amazing on bass and 808s, anything you just need to get to pop out of the speakers. Check it out. All you got to do is turn up this intensity knob, which I believe is like blending in a parallel compression fader. And then we have a beautiful doubler and even some reverb. And it's all nice and filtered. It just works really well with bass guitar. So check this out. Let's start by, we'll turn them all down. And then we'll just start by turning up the intensity. That's really great. I feel like this plugin would have worked really well on the vocal too, to bring some of that just kind of lower stuff forward. But you can really hear what the 100 to 200 range is doing. I'm going to actually do that again while listening on the NS10s because I feel like that's going to really reveal this bass on the small speakers. You know, everybody's going to say, well, it just got louder. That's all that's going on. No, that's not all that's going on, jabroni. But if you want to, the quickest way I like to do this to level match things is to hit Command, and you just click right here to change the type of fader. You do it twice. Change the type of metering. Okay, let's change it to peak. Let's click it so it resets. We'll hit play with the plugin bypassed. All right, we're at about negative 12.9 without the plugin. Let's turn the plugin on. All right, so we got a little louder. Let's turn it down like 2.5 dB to see where we're at. We're gonna level match it exactly and then compare. We're still a little loud. Reset. Still a little loud. We'll come down 2 more. So now when we bypass it, we're getting the exact level. And this is a really great way for you to check and just make sure you're not fooling yourself into thinking you're liking something better. So let's bypass. It's doing some good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the big, I'm gonna switch back to the big Strauss monitors. Now we're gonna blend in that doubler. Really nice. And we'll bring in a little of the reverb too. You know, you wouldn't think to add reverb to a bass or to an 808, but like it really can add some dimension. And these are the kind of things that you might not notice in your room with speakers on, but when you put the AirPods in, you put the headphones on, it really does add a little bit of something. So let's hear this thing. Yeah, so those are 3 plugins I've been just freaking digging, man. Hope you guys get some ideas, get inspired, and just go out and try some things. Yeah, freaking rules, dude. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for hanging. Peace.